What's up, everybody? I'm Terri Thomas, Operations Manager for Radio 1, 97 on the Box, Magic 102.1, and Praise Houston 92.1 that we just launched about a week ago on the FM dial. And today I want to welcome you to the business behind the music. During the pandemic, we kicked off this series, and it was an Instagram series, but we're bringing it back better than ever here on Facebook and YouTube. So thank you so much for tapping in with us. Our sponsor today is Remy Martin. As we team up for excellence, we're going to be talking about Texas music, surviving and thriving in the music business in Texas. And with that, I've got an awesome panel that we're going to have a great discussion today. And I encourage everybody that's tapping in, whether you're on Facebook or YouTube, definitely feel free to drop in questions and participate. Love to get a lot of participation from the audience. It just makes it for a better conversation. And I know a lot of artists and people interested in the business will be tapping in as well. So if you've got some really good questions for the panel, definitely want to hear from you. And so we'll get those questions up and answered as much as we can. So with that, I'd like to go ahead and introduce the panel today. My first guest is going to be, I would say, definitely a longtime friend, a great friend, almost really a family member here for us at 97.9 The Box. I had the opportunity to meet him in person when I first came to Houston so many years ago. And, you know, he's just one of the best people in the music business I've ever met. And that's Paul Wall. I call him the People's Champ. You can find him on Instagram, Paul Wall, baby, but he's always the People's Champ to me. So welcome.
What it do?
What it do, baby?
Hey, what it do, baby?
Awesome.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, I'm so happy. So with that, I also have another guy that I'd like to bring to the table. And you may or may not know this guy. I would say he's not really a face that a lot of us would recognize, but he definitely makes a lot of moves behind the scenes in the music business. Kind of one of those people, if you know, you know. I'd like to bring to the table Mr. Troy Marshall, who is the general manager for 1501, but his career in the music business, it goes long and wide. And he's worked with many Texas artists over the years, and will have some unique perspective from then and now to bring to the table. And I also say that Troy is my personal sort of guru on all things digital, and we'll talk about that in a little bit.
Hey,
and then,
everybody.
Of course, the panel would not be complete without a guy who's actually keeping it really real today, because he is on the road out here trying to get that bread. And he's one of Texas' favorite son, one of our Houston guys. And we definitely want to welcome to the table BeatKing, who's on the road. Hey, good to see you.
We're parking right now, so my signal can be nice and strong. We're parking right now.
I love it. Funny about BeatKing, when I first asked him if he would participate in the panel today, he's like, I'm on the road, but if I got to pull over to somebody's Wi-Fi, we're going to make it happen. So I want to thank everybody for being here on the panel. And also, again, we got Scooter G and a bunch of people that are checking in, Facebook and YouTube, Renee Gonzalez, and all of that. So definitely welcome today to the business behind the music. So let's go ahead and get started. I got a question for everybody. Now, everybody knows who you are if you're in the music business. You know, Troy may be a little bit elusive because he's sort of the mastermind behind so many careers. But if you're in the music business, you know who Troy is. So, you know, here's something that I want to know. What was the moment when you realized that this thing called music could actually be a career for you? And BeatKing, we'll start with you.
When I realized it could be a career for me, I say, you know, when you're a new artist, most new artists, we don't have sponsors or people putting money behind us, you know, so I had bills, you know, a lot of responsibilities. I had a handicapped mother I had to take care of, you know, so when I was able to pay her mortgage and the light bill and everything just from turning my room to a studio and selling beats and all that, that's when I kind of realized, like, okay, this is generating money. So if I stick to it and try to make it, you know, work on a bigger platform, then I could be big and famous one day.
And that you are, my friend. And we in Houston, of course, know how big and famous you are. And as you're traveling around the country, I think everybody else is getting to get a sneak peek of that as well. So as your star is continuing to rise, one thing about you, BeatKing, and I do want to point this out, this is not an overnight success situation for you. Like, this has been 11 years in the making. You just signed a major deal with Columbia Records. And, you know, I do want to also say that you're somebody who's turned down deals over the years, because you are one of the people that everybody in the music business would call me about, saying, we're trying to sign BeatKing, but he won't sign with us. So
You know
I
why?
know we'll
And
get
you know
deeper
why?
into it, but tell me why.
Okay. I mean, I growing up around people like Paul Wall, man. You know how rich they were before the deal. Like
Yeah.
Paul Wall and them, like they was getting money. I would see them. Like he didn't know me yet, but I would see them. You know what I'm saying? I'm just like, man, they ain't got no deal and they don't need one. You know, so it is like Texas is so big, it's so vast. Like we can make so much money every year just in our region. You know, so if a label come to us, they gotta come correct. You know,
Hmm, exactly. And you
so
know what? That's what I said. I said artists in Houston don't want to sign if you're not bringing anything that's better than what they could do for themselves. So with that, let's pivot to over to you, Paul Wall. You truly are the people's champ, and I think BeatKing's right. You've been a really great example of a person who's been independent, small label, and very much on the independent side, but also been on the bigger side of things as well. So you have both perspectives. When did you know that this music business could be a career for you? I mean, you've been in this a long time and continue to reinvent yourself to stay relevant.
I always, wanted to have a career in music, as an artist or something, but that's like kind of a pipe dream, like going to the NBA, being a famous rapper. So, I kind of, the reality for me was, okay, I'm going to be a DJ or I'm going to work in promotions or two other things that I loved that I just felt like I could contribute. And there was a profession path for me, a career path for me to go down. There were DJs who had careers, long careers as DJs. There were promotion managers or people who did promotions that were grown and had families and this was their job. But when it came to rappers, it was always like hustlers who were hitting licks. They were kind of rappers and they kind of come and go as they hit their licks, but it wasn't like a long-term profession till I started seeing other artists like Snoop Dogg or just other artists who are long-term professionally. But I always knew it could be some type of a job in it for me. But as an artist working with Michael Watts, when him and Ron C taught me how to turn my hobby into a hustle, then it was kind of like what BeatKing said. When I was able to pay my bills with it and consistently pay my bills and not have to, where I'm putting in money and my bank account is reflecting. I'm sorry, I'm putting in work and my money, my bank account is reflecting the work I'm putting in. That's when I knew I was like, okay, I can do this for a job. Then it's a matter of how long. And for me, I love this job. This is what I work hard for, prayed for. I want to do this for the rest of my life. So then when you thinking long term, it's a different thought process than when you thinking like you just want to hit a lick. When you thinking long term, you're thinking of, the people that you meet, and I hope to meet them again, all the different various people I would meet. So if I meet a fan or just someone random at a gas station, in my mind, I'm investing in that moment because I'm thinking I'm going to see that person again. So let me be respectful. Let me, be respectful of their time. All of that, just because I know the power of a meeting, and I
Mhm.
saw the work that went into it, and it was like, hey, when I was able to just like BeatKing, when I was able to pay my bills doing this, and then I knew, okay, I could have a profession. This could be my profession. This could be my career.
Now, Troy, you have a bit of a different perspective on the business because you're more on the label side, like the Wizard of Oz, the man behind the curtain, if you will. And I will say you've seen a few sides of the business, of course, working with a lot of major labels throughout your
Yes.
career, but also very much on the independent side, straight up down to an artist who's not signed to anybody, but out here, and like to Paul's credit and BeatKing, we got a couple of artists here who spent a good portion of their career not signed, working their own hustle, owning their own brand, and you've worked
Right.
closely with artists in that way as well. So what about you? When was the moment you realized that this music thing could be a career in your way?
I live in Los Angeles, and I used to be a club promoter, right? So I'm saying some names that no one might not know, but the Met Gitchery, Lionel Rednauer, they used to work at record labels. Like the Met was at Columbia, Lionel was over at Perspective, and they used to bring the records and the artists to my nightclub to perform and expose them in the marketplace. So when I saw that, and then the Met Gitchery, me and him went to Bourbon Day High School together. So I'm like, well, damn, but the Met can do that. I want to do that. And then plus I had recording artists coming up to my club every Monday night for 18 and over and Thursday night for 21 and over. So I developed relationships with all the different record reps at the different major labels. And then there was this one gentleman by the name of Alan Carroll who was at MCA Records at the time, who had Uptown Records, which had Mary J, Jodeci, Heavy D, Monifa. I begged him for like 2 months to let me come intern for him. And I started interning from him, and then I got in the business, and I've been here ever since and not going nowhere, and reinvented myself year after year as the business has grown.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite things about you, Troy. You're what I call a triple OG in the business because you've got, length in years. But I think you are somebody who in particular saw the digital revolution and where that was going to take things and how that was going to change the music business. And I think that that's changed a lot of things about how we do business and how we thrive and survive, especially here in Texas. So, BeatKing, I want to turn to you. I remember meeting you for the first time. I remember I was at a club on, I think it was on Richmond Avenue, back in the cut. I came out and there was Crush CDs on my car. There was the CD single on my car, like in different projects and flyers and things like that. So the business is really, really different. And I know when I first came here to Houston, Paul Wall, it was like, man, all of that wave of what was happening in Houston with you and Slim and everybody, Flip and all of the artists from Houston. At that moment, it was like, man, the movement was huge. And so there's been some time and the movement has continued. But now, especially with the women and, we got Travis Scott and Megan and things that they're doing. And, BeatKing just got a big deal and you're still doing your thing and making strategic alignments with artists from other genres and all kinds of stuff going on. I think we're seeing another wave of this whole Texas movement. So, BeatKing, how do you feel the state of music is for Texas artists right now?
Man, okay, number one, I'm just trying to picture you at a club. Number one. Okay,
I'll tell you what it was. It was Hatter's Idol. It was Hatter's Idol. And we were looking for the next big superstar. And I think that's the year that Reggie Jams won. But anyway, that's how long ago it was.
Okay, man. And basically, man, you said, how do I feel about the new wave and everything going on? That what the question was? How do I feel
like, what do you think about the state of hip hop in Texas today?
Oh man, I love it, man. It's a whole new generation.
Oh man,
wow.
Well, he's on the road, so this is this is real life. He's on the road trying to get that money. So I'm going to pivot over to Paul.
I'll pick up right where he left off.
How do you feel about the state of music, even just hip hop? But there's an R&B movement that's happening just the same. There's a pop movement on the Latin side that's happening just the same. There's a lot of things happening with Texas music. How do you feel about the state of music in Texas today?
I love the state of music in Texas today, especially the hip hop. The state of hip hop in Texas. It used to be where there was only one road traveled for any artist making music, and if you made hip hop music, you on that road. If it was R&B, you're on a separate road. Now it's several roads. It's freeways. It's side streets. It's the feeder roads. It's the beltways. There's so many ways to get to be yourself and to be an artist. So this is a great time to be a fan of music. Because there's so many artists and producers out there just doing so much, trying new things, so many engineers. These are things that when we were making music coming up, we didn't have an engineer. We didn't have somebody in there mixing the music down. They would do that afterwards, but usually it would be like us actually holding a microphone. And we wouldn't even have a popper stopper that goes on the mic. We'd wrap it with a T-shirt. And
I'm at Starbucks.
Let me pass it back to BeatKing. BeatKing, we're going to pass it back to you.
I'm at Starbucks. I finally found Wi-Fi.
Oh, man. You know what? Yeah. This is awesome for artists that are trying to get down because this is real. Yeah, and one thing that I love about these two guys is their word is bond. So when they say they're going to be here, they make it happen. So thank you.
Yeah, man. How I feel about Houston, the Texas hip hop, man. I love it, man. I came up under Swish House, watching Power Wow, Chameleon there with the CDs and Michael Watts and everybody, man. And just like it's just a different era today. It's the internet, So artists like me, I'm an entertainer as well. So I would do anything to get your attention. That's my whole thing. Whether it was making funny freestyles, having cucumbers at my shows. I was going to demand your attention. You know what I'm saying? So that's I say today our artists today are not just artists; they're entertainers as well. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
So,
but also I want to chime in on that, Terry. Also, I really want to credit BeatKing, something that Paul Wall and Slim Thug and them were doing back today. They were collaborating with other Texas artists, right? Like with DJ Chose and BeatKing
Yeah.
have a record together. BeatKing is on Erica Banks's Tooth That record. You know, the way they're strategizing with each other and helping each other come up together has the whole Texas movement really continue to grow. And it's not about no exchange of money and nothing like that. It's about relationships. Like Yellow Beezy has a relationship with Erica Banks. Erica Banks has a relationship with Beat King. Beat King has a relationship with DJ Chose. Like all that synergy is really starting to resonate, not just in Texas, but across the country now. So a lot of A&Rs in New York, Atlanta, LA are starting to come into Texas and seeing what other genres of music, what other talent is in there, and try to get that other talent. And it's a credit to these young artists now really sticking together and really sharing their resources with each other as far as giving their talent. Like B King drove down to Atlanta, did the video for Erica, and then drove to another market to go do a show that night. Just to show his dedication to how he's trying to build another Texas artist up in the marketplace.
I think that's such a great point. Like there was a time not too long ago, because I think there's a whole women's movement that's happening here
Oh,
in Houston
absolutely.
and Dallas. You mentioned Erica. We've of course seen Megan. There's Ken the Man who's out here, doing a lot. There's OMB Bloodbath who's out here. Libra Jolie is. I mean, the list goes on and on and on and on and on and on. And I love it. And I remember, like the first time I met Ken the Man and Libra Jolie, it's because there was an interview happening at the radio station and one brought the other. And so Ken was coming and brought Libra, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
so then it was more like, hey, I'm trying to be successful. She's trying to be successful. We're also being supportive of each other. And it's like, well, I was coming, so I brought brought her, figure she might like to meet the people. And, and just, there's a lot of sort of that hand, right? Where it's like, well, hey, come on, bring you along. I think that speaks to the attitude about just being Texas and being Houston, especially. It's that hospitality. And I think in addition to that, there to me seems to be such a confidence with the artists about what you, Paul, BeatKing, and the others that are thriving, what you're bringing to the table that's uniquely yours. And you're not intimidated by opening the door and letting another artist come in with you, because it's more like, hey, what greater thing could we build together than we can separately? And I think that's something that's always been prevalent here, but as we're seeing more artists, because I think of things like the internet sort of level the playing field and knock down barriers, we're seeing a lot of that energy we always had manifest itself in bigger and better ways. So, Troy, you've really been on the forefront of understanding the digital movement. What's the biggest change in the music industry since you started? Would you say it's the digital revolution?
It's the digital revolution. And today, right now, 2021, if you don't have a proper YouTube channel, get you a proper YouTube channel. Set up your YouTube channel correctly. And then once you set up your YouTube channel, turn it into an OAC channel, which is an official artist channel, which puts a music note next to your name, which connects your YouTube channel, your topic page, and your YouTube music channel. Once you combine all those, then turn it into a Vivo channel, because from a distributor standpoint, you get a bigger pay rate out of it being a Vivo channel. And they have some marketing things that you can do once your videos come out through Vivo as well. A lot of people aren't aware of that. So I want to make sure people were aware of that whole thing. And that is so important, because now our younger generation is using YouTube as their place to go consume their music. Right. So that's why you're starting to see a lot of artists put the audio up with either a lyric video or just the artwork. Then you see the official video coming. But that's where a lot of our youth are living, on these YouTube channels, discovering these artists. So make sure you have that as an up and coming artist, along with making sure you understand your Apple Music for artists, your Spotify for artists, your Amazon Music for artists, your Reverb Nation, your next big sound, which is the analytical office for Pandora, Amp program with Pandora. Make sure you have all those in your repertoire because that helps with your algorithms as you continue to get your streams, as you continue to get your subscribers, as you continue to get your views.
Well, Troy, you're a friend and we've talked about this and you're throwing a lot of great information out here for artists. And I'm just going to announce publicly for everyone watching the business behind the music that we are going to do a special session with Troy and a few of our friends from the digital space specifically to help break down everything that he's sharing with you, because I think one of the things that I love about Texas artists, like we stay independent until that deal is just so good that it makes sense for me to bargain some of my equity with a label. So there's a lot of this staying independent, and the digital stratosphere has changed that because it really is conducive for artists to stay independent that are savvy, because you're now having all of these multiple streams of income that are allowing you to connect not just with people in Houston, not just with people in Texas, but people all over the world that find the culture, fall in love with the culture.
Sure.
And now they're connected. I remember doing a chopped and screw. It was on June 27th. We did a June 27th. And for whatever the reason, it just hit different that day. And we were getting feedback from all over the world, with the world listening to our 97.9 The Box app and hearing the music of Texas all day, and Japan, China, Australia, LA. It was like it's a whole thing. So people love the music and the culture here, and the internet evens the playing field for a savvy artist who embraces their independence to be able to collect all those checks. Paul, from somebody who was really selling music out of the trunk of your car, like hand to money, passing it out and doing it that way, to where we are now, where you've done it that way, but now involved in this digital space. How has that changed the game for you?
To me, it's just there's more ways to get it. There's more avenues, there's more tools, there's more means, there's more open minds. Even when we were coming up, hip hop was looked at as like a, unwanted stepchild of the music business. It was thought of as a trend, a fad that was going to die off, So that definitely has changed, hip hop being the number one form of music in the world now, and influencing all other forms of entertainment, as well. But to me, it's more tools, there's more ways, there's more means. There's more ways to get it, and you like I was saying before, you're not restricted in being one thing. It's not monolithic. Everybody's a little bit different, and you're allowed to be unique. The uniqueness is celebrated where it used to be looked down upon.
That's right.
And anything that there is new, the new means to get it, the old ways are still there as well. You know what I'm saying? Like what you see BeatKing doing right now, hitting that road. That those means of getting it. That's the legwork. That's the grind. There's other ways to grind that people do when they do the digital grind and that's it. But the actual footwork grind when you're in somebody's face, you can just imagine when a celebrity or somebody you like comments on your picture. Okay, that how it makes you feel or something. But imagine when you see that person in real life in person, and you're like, wait a minute, that's BeatKing, and you sit there and have a whole conversation with BeatKing and all that. That type of feeling, it'll never leave you. Those moments last with you forever. That's how you build a long-lasting fan base. So as many new ways there is to get it, that old 45 to downtown is still working. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
might be a little traffic.
Yeah, but not only that, Terry, we broke Erica Banks during the pandemic. Like, we went to Memphis, we went to Jackson, Mississippi, we went to Atlanta, Georgia, like 5 or 6 times. Yeah, we took her down to New York. Like, we really moved around. We were very careful. We had our masks, we had our sanitizers, we kept our hands washed. And, by the grace of God, none of us caught COVID through this whole thing. And then when it started to lighten up in the new year, then that whole TikTok thing, that TikTok thing really rose her whole profile globally. Like you were talking about earlier, it's over 8 billion videos of TikTok of around the world on busing. So, that we felt that a part of that grind that we did moving around just really helped her solidify her with her fan base and was able to grow her fan base internationally.
I think what we're hearing here is, it's that old school hustle with new school materials. And it's a combination of that. So like BeatKing, you're somebody who's been 11 years, so you've got that. You're out on the road now, trying to get a Wi-Fi at a Starbucks or wherever you are.
Man, y'all don't understand what I'm going through, man.
Man, you hear though, right? So to me, that's that old school hustle where a lot of artists, and Troy's worked with many artists not from here. Also, a lot of artists would be like, "Oh man, the signal dropped," and they're moving on. But you're somebody who's showing this is the type of person you are, and this is how you are with your hustle. So talk a little bit about how you apply the old school hustle to the new school sort of technologies and things like that. Where do you meet in the middle?
Man, to me, my whole career, I never was the numbers guy, and I'm the numbers guy now. I do a lot of big numbers with all my stuff now, but up to this point, I never was the numbers guy. So I have to utilize my strengths, and I realized my strengths are going outside, talking to DJs. And my biggest thing was if it was ever somebody really important that somewhere on the other side of the country that I really felt I need to meet, or a DJ or something, I would just fly to that city and meet that DJ. And I just guaranteed myself, I was like, if I was to like fly to Atlanta and go in a DJ booth and like, hey, DJ Drama, I'm BeatKing. I flew here just to meet you. I guarantee we probably gonna be friends after that. You're gonna be like, man, you flew here just to meet, yeah. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just real big on going outside and running down on somebody and like actually meeting you in person, because the internet is one thing, but meeting somebody in person, like, I see a lot of new artists, they're young. It's not their fault. They may have a big song and, they're going to clubs. They're not meeting the DJ or meeting the promoter or meeting the PD at that station. They're not meeting anybody, So year 2 or year 3 come around, they don't even know who to talk to. They don't know anything, what I'm saying? And I think being independent for so long, it taught me that, how important it is as an artist to have those relationships in your phone, you know what I'm saying? And not just to have the numbers, but to be able to call a person on the phone, and when y'all hang up, that person actually does what y'all just discussed.
Yeah. That's right.
And so it's a lot of new artists, they call me OG now. It's crazy, Paul. They be calling me OG now, and I give them a lot of game on that. But like, man, the internet is one thing. It's very important. You have to have internet presence. Everything Troy said about YouTube is 100% true. You have to have some type of something going on the internet. Like think about somebody like Paul. He got grills. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He got, with me, I'm yo-yoing these days. I'm on Instagram yo-yoing. I'm doing stupid stuff. You know what I'm saying? Just anything to keep that attention there. But if you mix that with the street grind too, and actually going out and shaking people's hands, DJs and everything, you're gonna be unstoppable. That's how I've been able to last this long. My DJ strength. That's what separates me from everybody else.
You know what? I think you really bring out a great point. And I want to shout out Eden, who's checking in, one of our favorites from here in Houston, who's really advocate for artists, works with a lot of artists and helping to facilitate those relationships that you're talking about, where we're also needing the people aspect of it. Because I do think that's a real valid point, is that the internet is amazing, but it also could be a challenge because you're hiding behind the internet at all times. And so, you might not have the best ability to really connect with people in person, but it's that human connection that allows an artist to me to have a career as opposed to just a moment. Troy, what do you think on that?
Yeah, no, I think you're absolutely correct. Like this weekend, right? You guys have a big concert that's going on Saturday. So we're making sure the whole 1501 family is there. Stunner Bam is performing. Erica's performing. We're going to have dancers. We're going to make sure that the other artists that's at the concert, that we meet them and take pictures with them and start to develop a relationship with them. We're going to make sure, hey, if you guys have set up in the back for interviews, that our artists do the interviews. Like we're doing all of the nook and cranny type of things to make sure we leave a great impression on that gatekeeper or that tastemaker. So they'll be like, hey, I want that person to come to my marketplace. Or, hey, I really like the way they presented themselves. I'm going to go that extra mile for them, or I'm going to give them that extra mix show spin, or I'm going to book them at my nightclub because I know their presentation is going to be worth having them at my establishment. So, we really pride ourselves on making sure we're very professional when we deal with people, when we meet our tastemakers, when we meet our music directors, our program directors, our club DJs. Like for us, we feel our club DJs are just as important as our mix show DJs. We feel our bar mitzvah DJs are just as important as our radio DJs because at the end of the day, they are the ones exposing the music to the consumer. And that's one thing that a lot of people have to remember. Like these DJs are exposing the music, and then on top of that, you're working your Instagram, you're working your Facebook, you're working your Twitter, you're working your Twitch now, which is starting to become popular. You're starting to put different content in addition to your videos on your YouTube channel to create some content and excitement. Also, like at the concert, Terry, we're gonna capture all that content, and then we're gonna make 1 minute 30-second clips to put out there to show everybody what went on the day of performance, behind the stage, pictures. So it creates that excitement to where that consumer wants to become a fan of that particular artist.
Yeah, I always say there's a big difference between a follower and a fan. Anybody can follow you, but it's real easy to hit that unfollow button. A fan is going to ride with you, period. A fan is going to ride for you when you don't have a song on the chart, and a fan is going to ride with you when you don't have a song on the radio. A fan is going to ride with you when you put out a piece of merch and it's $25 or $50 for a t-shirt and they want to rep your brand. A fan, to me, always puts the gas in the engine of your career. And I think a lot of times for the artists that don't have the benefit of sort of that old school hustle, building it from the ground up on the streets, and have only done it the internet way, to me, when I'm meeting a lot of artists in that arena, they have a very difficult time connecting on the human level. Even simple things like today, understanding the value of a session, the value of being on time, the value of the conversation. BeatKing's dropped out a few times because the internet is shady, but he comes right back every single time. Paul Wall was here early. He wasn't on time. He was early. It's like certain behaviors, because I think to me, it's understanding like this is the business behind the music. Like there's a business here, and the music part is great and the fun part, but you also have to be smart about the way that you handle the business. What do you think?
I have an artist. Her name is Big J. She's from Beaumont. And I've been telling her the same things you just said. Like, yeah, you're making money and you're in the club and people know who you are now, but it is a business. You have to be at your shows on time. When things are scheduled for you, you have to do them. You can't give up quick just because it didn't go right when you first got started. You have to follow through with things. So I just wanted to add on to what you just said. Like it's a business,
No, that's a good point. So, there's new artists out here. They, again, I smile whenever somebody says BeatKing is a new artist. I'm like, nah, this brother's been grinding, right? And what I love about Paul is always reinventing himself. Period. Paul listens to other music genres, connects with artists from other genres. I think, to me, Paul, you understand that music is a global language. And so for you is however you can build connections and be assets to each other. And I love some of the very inventive things and relationships that you have, because I think that also you're continually exposing yourself as an artist to a group of fans that may not know Paul Wall from back in the day, but they're inspired to go dig deep and learn about you by the arenas that you're willing to put yourself in. So there's a lot of artists that would like to be on the road, maybe in Texarkana at the Starbucks, getting ready to go do a show somewhere. There's probably an artist out here that would like to be, Paul Wall hanging with, whoever, Travis Barton, whoever, like, out here at rock shows, making those things happen, crowd surfing, whatever the case may be. Or Troy, who's out here just living his best life, connecting the dots for people behind the scenes. So as a new or upcoming artist, unsigned, just kind of doing it on their own right now, give me a couple things you think that a new or upcoming artist should really focus on that you see is really getting people off track. Like, what's something that people really miss the boat on?
Well, I'll chime in first. The first thing they need to do is, now that there are studios, engineers, producers. Get with people that can help make sure your music is of a certain quality, right? Because when it gets played in the club, you want it to sound a certain way. When you present it to that music director or that program director or that mix show DJ, you want to make sure that the clarity is there. Make sure you have a radio clean edit. Make sure you have a dirty edit. Make sure you have the instrumental. Because a lot of new artists, well, I don't want to give out my instrumental. Well, think of it as this. If you give that instrumental to the radio station and that production guy likes the beat of that and he makes a commercial using your beat, now your beat is getting familiar on the radio station. So when they hear your song in the mix show, they'll be like, hey, it starts to stick in your mind subliminally. And that's what a lot of these new artists don't understand. You have to do that. So that's one thing. The other thing is get some people around you that can help you start to guide your path. And then when you feel you have enough finances to hire the appropriate executive or promoter that can help you steer your situation, hire you a professional that can help you go through so you don't have to go through a lot of the trials and tribulations. Because I'm gonna let you guys know there's a lot of people out here taking people's money and not doing anything for it. And I really hate that for the business. That's why I really do these type of panels. That's why I really try to be as transparent as possible. And even when I have a client, if I feel that there's certain part of the job that I didn't get done, I'll even refund them back some of their money because the integrity part of the business is what a lot of people don't understand. And I just really want to get that out there. You have to have integrity to be successful in this. Now, there's some people that have gone through the way and they've been successful and not having that much integrity, but where they at 2 years from now or 5 years from now? When I work with artists, I try to make them into career artists to where they're going to have a career for 5 years, 8 years, 10 years, 12 years. Like BeatKing, he's been doing it for 10 years. Yeah, outside of Texas, a lot of people think he's a new artist. So now he's able to take advantage of that. All that great learning that he's doing, all that great running around, now he's just taking it from state to state to state and taking it. And Paul Wall's the same way. Me and Paul Wall been on the road a lot. Like when I worked with Slim Thug and Paul Wall and Mike Jones, they was on different labels, but we was all out there grinding together, getting it done, doing interviews together, taking pictures together, bringing each other's up. Matter of fact, Slim Thug gave Mike Jones a record that became, a huge record for Mike Jones. So again, it's been going on forever, and I just love to see the fact that it's really blossoming even more, and that these Texas artists are really making this thing happen. And you can approach a BeatKing, you can approach a Stunner Bam, you can approach a Erica Banks, you can approach a Paul Wall.
But you know what, Troy?
Advice.
You know what, Troy?
Yes, sir.
Let me add on to what you just said, Troy. Let's go even before the whole recording process. My advice to new artists today is find out who you are as a person. Once you find out who you are, it will make sense then. Like people like authenticity. People gravitate toward things they feel are real. So if you like video games, make your music about video games. If you like women, be like me, make your music about women. If you a tough guy, make your music about being a tough guy, because whatever you rap about, that's what will be at your shows. And you don't want to lie to people about who you are. And if you are really 100 and an authentic person and people gravitate toward that, you won't even need the radio, because people will love you and they will buy your merch. They will do this, they will do that. They will show up to shows. Then when you build yourself up to a radio standard, you're going to be out of here. You know what I'm saying? But just be true to who you are, and then apply everything to what Troy just said with the music and everything, making sure everything is professional, your service packs, clean, dirty, all that. And I just think it's a really important part right there, the new artist, man, just finding out who you are as a human, because some people just want to get in and be like, oh, this is fun. I see Pooh Shiesty doing it. I'm going to make a song just like him. But you're not just like him.
Mm-hmm.
And you will just make music because you think it sounds good, and you wondering why the fans are not coming because they don't believe the things you're saying from you.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You have to make music that's true to yourself. And once you do that, the fans come. And when the fans come, now it's time to call Troy and have your money right when you call him too.
Right. It's called the music business, right?
Straight up.
Yeah. So, you know
Appreciate
what?
that.
I love that BeatKing mentioned the radio because I think, there used to be a time way before all of us were even born where radio was all there was. There was no
Yeah.
TV. Any sort of content that you were interested in, you'd get it on the radio, whether it was the ball game, whether it was hearing a show on the radio, whether it was hearing music on the radio. And the world is a lot different now. A lot of us have these, right? We've got devices. Troy knows there's 30 different digital websites that you need to have your music on as an artist, right? 30.
Yep.
30 standard. It's 30 straight up. So even the radio game is a little bit different because radio used to be the first place, but now it's not always the first place. There's so many of these other avenues that you can go and establish yourself, really hone who you are as a personality, as an individual, as an artist. Because so by the time you hit radio, then it's the next evolution.
Right.
I find a lot of times artists want to, well, I just made a song on my computer and bring it to radio. Can you play my song? But there's no infrastructure. There's no fan base. There's no following. There's no story. You haven't had an opportunity for yourself to even learn, who am I as an artist? How do I react with people? What's my story? What do the fans love about me as an artist? So there is a lot to say for, really taking the time and having the patience and the consistency to work your hustle day in and day out, even on the days where it's hard. Because that's what a career is built on. Any artist can have a moment. There's some kid out here right now who's making a beat, doing a little rap, throwing it on TikTok, and it maybe is going to be that one song that's going to have a huge moment, and then the career is going to disappear because there's been no infrastructure. None.
Right.
And so I'm not mad at somebody who can take a one song moment and do the right thing with your money. If you own your beat, if you own your publishing, if you've done that little piece of the puzzle right, you might be okay for a while. But a lot of artists can't build a career off of one small moment and expect it to last a lifetime.
Right.
So we got Paul Wall popping back in. Paul, just wanted to ask you, for the new and upcoming artists, what do you think something that an artist should really focus on trying to be in the game today in the music business in Texas? I don't know if can you hear me, Paul? I don't know. It might be on mute. People chant. His mic is muted.
It looked like you're just listening.
I don't know. Well, that's okay too. It's all good. Well, we're working that out real quick. I just want to remind everybody that we are here today because we have a sponsor, and that's a whole other session for the business behind the music, how to get yourself funded. We will address that as well. But we would like very much to thank our sponsor, Remy Martin, as we team up for excellence with the business behind the music today. So, I'm not sure whether Paul's going to be able to pop back in or not. Hopefully he will, so we can get some parting words from Paul. But, any sort of words of advice going out the door for artists here in Houston, in Texas, as they're trying to reach that next level?
I can tell from somebody who was independent for a long time, and now I'm on the other side of it, being signed to a major, man. One thing is just, you gotta, like, your city may not love you in the beginning. So my advice is I tell artists, man, go where the love is, man. Maybe your first fans are in St. Louis. And then
100%.
everybody's gonna think you're from St. Louis too. Because you're gonna be out there so much trying to get your fan base started and built from that space on out, so it's just go where the love is. You got the internet, it's no real excuse today, man. I'll be like, man, y'all didn't go through what I had to go through in 2009, and you didn't go through what Paul had to go through in 1999. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, there's no excuse today, man. You got internet, you got stuff like this you can watch, people giving you game, man. There wasn't no YouTube out in the 90s, man.
Right.
You know what I'm
That's right.
saying? So
Exactly.
gotta just utilize all them tools, man, and just what Terry said is 100% correct, man. In my situation, man, TikTok took me to a whole new level last year. But if I didn't have that core 10-year fan base, I probably would have been like every other 17-year-old that had a song on TikTok and just faded away. But when my song blew up, it was a celebration from my fans. It was yes. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like
Yep. Yep.
you gotta have
Yep.
that foundation. That
I
foundation
love it.
important.
I love it.
Straight
That's
up.
awesome. Awesome. Well, Paul, while we got you here, any just thoughts for artists, as we're wrapping things up today with business behind the music, or what for artists that are trying to like have a career, trying to get where you are, any parting thoughts for somebody who's really just still independent, trying to figure it out?
Yeah, everything that's been said is spot on. I would say most important, we all have our own path. So when you start off or when you're in the beginning stages of the journey, in your mind, you see the destination and you say, okay, this is how I'm going to get there. And sometimes if it doesn't go exactly as planned, we think it's a failure, but that's not the case. You got to be able to pivot, adjust. You got to be able to, if there's a pothole, you're not going to drive in the middle. I got a lot of driving references. If it's a pothole, you're not going to drive right over it. You're going to go around it, and that's what you got to do with this in your career, especially when you're starting off. You think, we all think we know it. We know everything. Because you're so passionate about it. You just feel like this is what's meant to be. You're so passionate, but let me tell you, some of the best DJs used to be rappers. Some of the best producers used to be DJs. Some of the best management or CEOs or promoters, they used to be rappers or in a band or in a group.
Yeah.
So, you got to pivot and go where your path is. And sometimes you can go down multiple paths. But man, what BeatKing said is 100%. When we were coming up in Houston, it's a screwed up clique city. It's a screwed up city. So if you are not in the screwed up clique, it was very difficult for us to come up. So what do? We went where we got love. We got love in Dallas, San Antonio, Austin, Louisiana, elsewhere, Oklahoma, Texarkana. These are the places that showed us love because Houston was, it was hard for us to come up. We went and got love in other cities and eventually it reciprocated back down at it came down to Houston and people started showing us love in Houston. Of course, now we get love in Houston. And if I tell that to people in Houston, they're like, what do you mean you don't get love in Houston? Yeah, we get love now, but when we were coming up, we didn't get no love. So go where you get love, go build on your strengths, improve on your weaknesses. Whatever your weaknesses are, improve on them. Whatever your strengths are, lean on them, and always get people around that are smarter than you. That's why you got to have a Troy Marshall on your team. Otherwise, it's you're not gonna be able to. He's walked down these paths. He can tell you from experience. Of course, and you've seen him go through many generations, so he's adjusted with the times and he's up to date with everything. You got to have somebody that know what they talking about and is up to date as well. You know what I'm saying? But by all means, if this is something you love to do, treat it professionally. There's so many people that want to make this their career path, but they're not. It's not professional to them. However you would treat your job, whatever your job is, wherever you work, no matter what your job is, the way you would talk to your boss, that's the way you got to talk to your boss in hip hop. And a lot of times your boss was the fans, or
Right.
the people that support you. Showing up on time, that's key. I was always taught that if you're being on time, you got to be 15 minutes early.
Hey, Paul, you know what, man? Hey, speaking on jobs, man, I'm gonna say that too, man. New artists, y'all should go get one because it take money to you can daydream all day. Yeah, I want to be successful, but you have to fund it. You know what I'm saying? And everybody want to rap, everybody want to sing, man. And if you don't have the money to be able to put in the right places and to be able to stand out, then you're not gonna make it. Everybody is trying to do the same thing. You know what I'm saying? So
exactly.
I always say, if you're not willing to invest in yourself, how on earth do you expect anyone else to make an investment in you?
Right.
It just, there it is, beginning, middle, and end. What are you willing to do today to live and have the career that you'd like to have in the future? And if you're unwilling to make those sacrifices, then it's going to be a tough road. And the other thing that I like to also think about is, the struggle. There's a story in the struggle.
That's
So
right.
that struggle can be fuel for your lyrics. That struggle can be fuel for how you connect with people. That struggle can be everything. It can be everything in an artist's journey. Your path is your path, but if you're unwilling to challenge your own self while you're going down the path, then I think I always go back to iron sharpens iron. We've all had challenges coming up in our career. Everybody in the panel have had real struggles with that. And sometimes we get sat down, but it teaches us how to get back up. And so if you're unwilling to humble yourself and to do the things necessary to be able to put yourself in a position to have a career, then you're just daydreaming to me. So, Troy, we got a couple minutes left as we wrap this up. Any parting remarks for
my phone got a couple minutes left too.
All right, cool. Let's wrap it up then.
No, but real quick, like they were saying, as far as finding out where your different fans are at, that's what you have the analytics for on your Spotify for artists, your Apple Music for artists, your SoundCloud, your YouTube, your Next Big Sound.
Instagram too.
Analytics. Instagram and Twitter. Study your analytics. Your analytics can help you plot out a promo tour. Your analytics can help you find out who are different people in the marketplace that will come and pay for you to come to their marketplace and do a show. So focus on your analytics. Really brush up on everything that's going on. When you get an opportunity to present something to a Remy Martin for sponsorship that can help you go out on the road or help your tour support, you got to show them that you're nice and organized, and you can show them the analytics that you can affect change in the marketplace where they're trying to build their market share. So, and again, please look at these type of panels. Please go to the DJ Core thing that's going on in Atlanta next week. Please look at the box videos of all these past behind the scenes. You can pick up jewels every time. It's like watching a movie over and over again. Like when I watch The Godfather, I always learn something new when I watch The Godfather. Same thing when you watch these behind the music, and they're put up there on purpose for you to go back and study and study and study. Go find you books that talk about the music business. Hire the right people to help you market and promote. Have a conversation with the Paul Wall when he's in a situation to where he can have a conversation with you. A lot of people don't know. Paul's been part of the Grammy organization for the last 15 years. He has helped structure to make sure some of these records get on the right categories to be voted upon. Because he felt there was an injustice.
Hey, Troy, some artists just got to grow up. I remember when I was a new artist, and Paul told me in 2011, hey, man, you want to be a part of the Grammy? I'm like, I don't care about that. You know what I'm saying? But, 11 years later, I'm like, I would love to be a part of that. You got to educate, just like you said, man, all the education is there for you. You just got to want to utilize it, man.
There it is.
Well, listen, it's a busy weekend coming up for everybody here on the panel. So Troy already touched on the big Memorial Day Mayhem concert where the whole 1501 roster is going to be at the Toyota Center this weekend. Paul, where are you for Memorial Day weekend? Go ahead and plug your event, sir.
Yeah, I'm on that road. I'm going to be in Oklahoma and Fort Worth and Dallas, and then I'm going to be back here in Houston on Sunday for the Astros game.
All right, I love it. And then, BeatKing, you're on the road, but we're on the internet and that's worldwide. So I know you're at Texarkana now. Where are you headed for the Memorial Day weekend? You're on mute, huh? There we go.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm heading to Memphis tonight, then Indianapolis tomorrow, and then Houston Friday, and then Louisiana Saturday, and then Houston Sunday, and then Miami Monday. And then I'm going to that court thing that Troy was talking about Friday. Like, it's a lot. It's a lot.
Yeah.
There's a lot.
Well, the only reason I'm not at the core thing this year is it's graduation weekend for my bonus baby. So I'm not able to do that because family, and that's a whole other business behind the music. You better take care of the people that take care of you. But, you know, because that's who we do it for ultimately, right? So listen, I just want to thank everybody who's weighed in. Today I've seen comments pop up, people giving, you know, attaboys, attagirls, shout outs and all that. So thank everybody on Facebook and YouTube. I want to shout out Jordan. He's a frequent flyer to Business Behind the Music. He's always checking in, getting the information. So, you know, Business Behind the Music is back, y'all. We're on a bigger platform. We've got more panels that are planned. Troy and I, we're going to do the next panel on the digital scene and really break down a lot of the digital stuff that he's talking about so that you can understand and embrace it and start to get yourself a roadmap in the digital space. But Paul Wall, BeatKing, and Troy, I'm so grateful that you have taken the time today to spend it with us. And I definitely want to shout out Remy Martin as we team up for excellence. Wouldn't be able to do it without the sponsor, but really wouldn't be able to do it without you guys. So thank you so much for spending the time today.
Sure. And anybody who sees me on Saturday, yo, come approach me, introduce yourself, shake my hand. Let's have a conversation.
All right. I love it. See, your time has been well spent. All right, gentlemen, be safe on your travels and on the road. And, you know, we'll catch you on the flip side. Thanks for checking into the Business Behind the Music.
Peace.
All right.
Peace.
All right.
Peace.